S. Chan presents educational video lectures as per the AICTE curriculum. Difficult concepts made easy. Study anywhere, anytime.
Do you know why appearing well in a personal interview is very important? What do you mean by a personal interview? No matter which profession you pick up, no matter which field you go into, you will have to appear for interviews, for job interviews, and also while seeking admission to a college of your choice, you will have to appear for interviews. So this presentation is all about the important skills, which is interview skills. How do we achieve create a good impact on the recruiters or even the persons who are taking our interview, and what are the important technical things we have to keep in mind? How do we dress for the occasion? How do we enter the room? And what are all those intricacies which we have to take care of while we are appearing for an interview? Welcome to S. Chand Academy. I'm Dr. Vidushi Bhardwaj. So, if you want to explore further into oral communication, please refer to the book by Vikas Publications. Link of the book is given in the description box. Moving ahead, let us start with what is a personal interview. When we talk about theoretically speaking, we all know what an interview is. We all have appeared for interviews once or twice or maybe multiple times in our lives. We may have appeared for a job interview, we may have appeared for an interview for an admission, or so on. But then what is an interview actually? It is an oral test to check the candidate's traits for employment, because it's not everything available on the CV. Curriculum vitae or a resume is already there with the recruiter. He knows you through your CV, but still he would like to see you, assess you through your communication, your confidence, and the soft skills. Of course, they would like to assess through your interview. So what are the important things they check, and what are the things you should keep in mind while appearing for interviews? And most importantly, to start with, what is the purpose of an interview? You will be surprised to know that the moment you enter the room, within few seconds the recruiters would assess your personality, your behavior, your attitude towards the recruiters or even the people who are sitting in the panel. So most importantly, especially at your stage, you will not understand the importance of the fact that why do I need to be prepared for this occasion? I am already technically competent, I am qualified, I am an engineer, or I am an MBA, or I have done so many certifications, I have done online courses, which makes me competent for this profile or this job. But still they want to meet me when they have shortlisted my CV. What is the purpose? The purpose is very clear. Most importantly, they would like to check your or judge your competencies, multiple competencies. It's not only one competency in terms of communication or how do you speak. It's also how do you dress. It's also that how do you carry yourself, or whether you are really formal in your approach or you're casual in your approach. Even the way you are sitting in an interview, whether you are sitting cross-legged or you're sitting properly with your shoulders straight high, and of course you are not slouching. All these things will tell volumes about your personality, and that is the reason why they want you to be there for the physical or the personal interview. They would like to check your verbal and non-verbal skills. That means whether you are paying attention to them or not when they are asking you a question. How do you carry your body language? In the last part, we also talked about body language and paralanguage in detail. So it carries a lot of importance, especially in interviews. And whether I am really good with my technical skills or not. Of course, they will ask you questions pertaining to your technical courses you have done, your degree, your qualification, and so on. They would like to evaluate the candidate's self-confidence. So if you are handling the questions well, you are smiling, you are not fumbling, you are not giving irrelevant pauses, you are not stammering, you are not shaky, you are not at all nervous, And even if you do not know something, you are handling it very, very smartly and very carefully. So they would like to assess you there. They judge your articulation skills. That means whether you are able to organize your ideas logically or not. How do you present your ideas when they ask you certain questions is something they would like to check on. And of course, your appearance is very important. They do not expect you to come, casually dressed in a pair of jeans or a t-shirt when you're coming for an interview for a job or even for the admissions. Why? Because your formal attire will tell volumes about your personality to them, that you take this job seriously and you are here for a purpose. The output has to be there and you are well prepared for the occasion. And if you are well prepared for the interview, the message they are going to get as an employer is that this candidate is a serious candidate. He will be, good employee also. So I hope the purpose is clear. Now, what are the different types of interviews we all should know? There are different categories of interviews. So, one is the panel interview, where there is a panel which takes your interview. There are panel of say 5-6 people. Each individual in the panel carry some expertise. One may be, carrying an expertise in the technical domain. The other person may be carrying an expertise in the soft skills domain, and so on. So they would be assessing you, judging you. You have to be very careful. You cannot be, casual in your approach here, because each one of you is trying to assess you. Then you have telephonic interviews at times, especially for jobs. So they do not meet you physically right in the first go, but they would like to speak to you or talk to you on phone, and they would check your confidence through your paralinguistic elements, the way you are answering, the way you are handling those questions, whether you are comfortable or confident or not, will tell them about you as a person and as a professional both. Then there are stress interviews. It's a kind of a panel interview again. They would throw questions upon you, which definitely you may not be comfortable with at times. You may feel aggressive. They may give you a situation where, how did you handle this situation when somebody shouted at you? You may go back to those situations, not physically, of course, mentally, but then how did you handle that stress in that particular domain? So that is how they would like to check. They would like to give you certain situations then and there as to how will you handle that conflict, or how will you manage stress if you are working for 6 hours a week or probably 6 days a week. So how will you manage that stress? So they try to assess those things. Then there is a sequential interview. So there is a sequence of certain events. You meet certain people, you go to another panel, then you meet somebody else, then you go to the third person involved. So it may not be only one interview there. It may be a sequence of series, where you are meeting multiple people for, being interviewed. So it depends upon the company. I mean, it's totally on the organization whether they go for a sequential interview or they go for only one interview. Then skill-based interview. They may be giving you certain tasks. So for example, if you are a management trainee, you are going into a position where you are applying for a sales profile. They may be giving you a task to sell a product. They may be telling you to, pitch a client. They may be giving you a role play to do on and so on. So it's how they assess your skill. And your academic interview is all about checking your academics, what do you know about certain theories, certain terms, whatever you have learnt in your academics, and so on. Now, what are the strategies for success at interviews? So, the first step here is to introspect and to know myself, to jot down the points about me as a person, as an individual, as a professional, that what makes me happy, what motivates me, what kind of job profile will be suitable for me. I am a go-getter, I am an extrovert, so I am fit for the sales profile. I am not much into meeting people. I am very good at, sitting at one place and probably writing and just reading and studying. I'll be very good at research profile. So there are different, things I need to find out about myself first. And that is how, if I try to, find that out, I'll be able to prepare well for the interview also. Then comes the company I'm applying for. So if I'm applying for any marketing based company, or a company which is to do with the sales profile, what is the company all about, what does it deal with, what all products do they have, what is the turnover of the company, when was it started, who is all there in the management of the company, who is the founder, and so on. So all these details will be available on the company website. Also, you may like to discuss it with the existing employees of the company, but make sure you've done your research well. It's very important. Before you appear for the interview, you should know about the company very well, because they may ask you certain questions even in the interview as to, do you know about our company culture or not, do you know what is the turnover of our company, and so on, and who are the competitors of our company. So if you have not prepared on these areas, you will be blank and clueless. That's not going to create a good impression to the recruiters. And then comes your job profile. So whether the profile I am applying for aligns with my goal, my ambition, or not. So whenever you apply for any company, you are going for any profile, the company always floats a job description as to what is the role. If it is a sales profile, what are the skills required by the company in that profile. You should be good at interpersonal skills, your communication skills have to be good, your negotiation has to be good, you should be confident, you should try to maintain, you should be good at networking. And these are the skills which would be elaborated in every job description, which we call the JD of the company. So if you have gone through that very well, you know what you are and whether you are suitable for that job profile or not, only then you apply for that company. If you are not suitable, you should go for the profile of your choice and which matches your personality, right? So if you have applied for it, definitely you will be able to tackle well in the interview also, because the recruiters will know your personality style and they would ask you questions pertaining to that. So these three things, if you are really prepared with, if you are really worked hard on these areas, you will be able to do well in your interviews as well. Okay, now coming to the types of questions which are asked in the interviews, so that we can prepare accordingly. The first category can be called as self-appraisal questions, where there is a technique which is known as a star technique or star model I can use to elaborate my answers. So for example, if they ask me as to, tell us about a time when you worked in a team efficiently and you delivered a project effectively, with a lot of success. So the star model will talk about the situation. So this will talk about the situation. Then comes the task, then the action, and then the result. If I have these four things in my mind ready, I will be able to tackle such self-appraisal questions very well, because I will be able to tell my interviewers that this is how I tackle the situation and this is how I am really good at, managing conflict or working in a team effectively. Then there are open-ended and close-ended questions. The open-ended questions which probably, have lot many what do we say, lot many ways to answer. So it's not a close-ended like no, there could be multiple answers for these questions. Then there are accomplishment questions as to what is my accomplishment in my particular area, tell us about a time when you were awarded for something, or tell us about your proudest achievement till now. These are known as the accomplishment questions. Then topic opener, okay, tell us something about you. It's a question where they start interacting with you. And then comes the future assessments questions. So they would like to know about your future plan. They can ask you, where do you see yourself 5 years from now, or where do you see yourself 10 years from now. They are known as the future assessment questions. So why these questions are asked? To know about the candidate's self-esteem, whether I'm confident about my achievements, whether I'll be able to achieve something, of great worth in 5 years of time or not. That is how they will, like to assess through your answers. And then behavioral indicators, where they would like to check my behavior as to, how did I manage the conflict, how do I handle the stress, or whether I am, emotionally very empathetic, or I am very aggressive. So these are the questions which they would like to ask as a part of behavioral indicators. What are the most commonly asked questions in an interview? About yourself, introduce yourself or tell us something about you, your strengths and weaknesses, your, why did you leave your previous job? And you have to make sure you do not criticize your previous employer anywhere. Your work history, wherever you have worked in the past, your behavioral questions, which I just discussed, on desired competencies, what do you want to learn, further, what do you want to achieve in life. Your interpersonal skills would be assessed, questions on managerial skills and leadership skills. So you may be told to give specific examples, from the past, in probably when you worked as an intern in a company, or you worked in a company for somebody. How did you tackle, these leadership situations or managerial positions, team management and time management. So there are multiple ways to, assess these things in terms of assessing an employee. Now these are the sample questions. Describe a time when two of the members of your team did not work well together. What did you do to get them to work together? So as a leader, how did you manage your team? Give an example of an occasion when you use logic to solve a problem. So what was your modus operandi? A time when your work was criticized. Were you furious? You were angry? Or you were okay with it? And how did you improve that work? Give an example of a goal you reached and tell me how you achieved it. About a time when you had a major conflict with somebody. So this will check your conflict resolution. Have you gone above and beyond the call of a duty? So they would like to check whether you are comfortable working in, those 8-9 hours, or you can go above the call of the duty if needed. What do you do when your schedule is interrupted? Give an example, and so on. There are multiple questions here. You can check and prepare accordingly. Now, people always feel that there is a bias in the interview process at times. Yes, at an extent we can say there may be some kind of a bias of the first impression. So we have found, there have been a lot of research on this, and it has been found that the first impression, is something which is going to be forever, with the recruiter forever. Even when you are, doing very well in your interview, you are answering very well, you are technically very competent, but if you did not enter the room, with a lot of smartness, and your attitude was really casual, and even the way you handed over your CV to the interviewers, the kind of folder you are carrying, and the moment when you greet them, you did not nod your head, or you did not wait for them to offer you a seat. All these things carry the first impression, which may be good or bad. And even if you are technically doing very well in terms of interview, you answer the questions well, that first impression may mar, or in fact that spoil your interview. So be very careful about that first impression. There is something which is known as halo effect. Now what is this halo effect? This occurs when an interviewer allows one strong point about the candidate to overshadow or have an effect on everything else. For example, knowing that someone went to a particular university, you may have been a pass out of a very renowned university, and my attitude is that everything will be good about the candidate because he is passed out from a particular university or an institution. So it's a renowned institution, so the candidate is bound to be good. This is known as a halo effect. So everything the applicant says during the interview is seen in a positive way. No matter technically, he may not have been able to justify, or maybe he was not able to justify his behavioral answers, situational answers, but according to this effect, I will ignore all those things because the candidate has passed out from a reputed organization. Then comes the contrast effect. Stronger candidates who are interviewed after weaker ones may appear more qualified than they are because of the contrast between the first and the second candidate. But most importantly, I would say the first impression is something which has to be really taken care of. Make sure you are formally dressed, you enter the room well, you look smart, you look presentable, you carry a CV in a folder, you present the CV to all the ones in the panel, and you wait for them to offer you a seat instead of you snatching away the chair and trying to sit before even waiting for them to give you the permission. So that first impression will create that impact. Moving ahead, we are going to discuss about the interview etiquette. We have to dress for the occasion in a very formal manner. We've already discussed, you have to be punctual. You must carry all the documents with you. Documents means your qualifications, of course. You are a BTech or you are an MBA or you are a BBA, whatever you've done, you have to carry your documents as a justification to your degree. You have to carry the multiple copies of your CV and so on. Then while entering office, how do you look like? Whether you're looking presentable or you're looking shabby, groom well, comb your hair well, and all these things definitely will create the first impression. Entering the interviewer room, we have already discussed about this in the previous slide. Your body language, whether you are slouching, you are standing, or you are probably resting against the wall, or you are standing straight. When you are entering, how do you look like? And when you are sitting, while you are offered the chair, whether you say thank you to them and sit properly, or you are sitting cross-legged. So everything will tell volumes about your personality. Remember, they already have your CV. You have been shortlisted on the basis of the CV. Not everybody was shortlisted for this profile, but still they want you to be there so that they can assess your personality. So when they already have your CV, they would just like to check the candidate, keeping in mind what are the soft skills the candidate possess and whether he is able to tackle that interview situation or not. So only technical competency is not important here, because it's there in the CV. They know your qualifications, they know your background, they know your extracurricular achievements, but how do you convince them or justify your achievements as an interviewee, So how do you manage that situation is something they are going to check on. Then the handshake, if they offer you a handshake, obviously you have to take it positively. And of course, your applications and resumes, and how do you exit, that's also an art. In part 1 of the presentation, we discussed about what is a formal interview and what are the nuances of appearing in an interview effectively. We discussed about the halo effect, the first impression, the contrast effect, and most importantly, the first impression creates a lot of impact on the recruiters. So what are the things you have to keep in mind while you are entering the room? How do you take a seat? All these things we have discussed in detail while you are appearing for an interview. Now in the second part, we are going to discuss in detail about how do we dress. As ladies and men and gentlemen, we have to be careful about our attire. So what is that formal dress code which will tell about our personality, and what are the other technicalities we have to be careful about when we are appearing for a formal interview. So if you want to explore further into oral communication, please refer to the book by Vikas Publications. Link of the book is given in the description box. If you like the video, please like, share and subscribe, and press the bell icon for future updates. Thank you.
All rights reserved. This video has been prepared for educational purposes only. No part of it may be reproduced or copied without the permission of the copyright holder.